we can get credit for stuff that is on the federal aid system or off the federal aid system and use it for, so I'm not. But we are going to keep trying, yes.
You're welcome, Gloria. Any other questions, members of the committee?
Is this the one that's down, like, down in the dip? Like,
It is past 77 on the other side. I don't know if there's a dip there or not. I can show you a
Actually,
map.
Toward Camp Christopher, out that way.
Yeah, it's pretty far out there.
Yeah, it's not down in the valley by the covered bridge and Zalays and all.
Oh, no, it's farther out, yeah.
Yeah, it's, all righty. Any other questions from members of the committee? Members of council, the public? Aaron, you want to move on that? Aaron moved on 2024-165. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heidi. 2024-166, a resolution authorizing the executive to advertise for bids for a purchase contract for sanitary sewer utility billing services for a 2-year term for an estimated total cost not to exceed $300,000 for the Executive's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Chair. Michael Vinay, Executive Shapiro's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services. This is our normal contract for bill print services. It's coming up near the end of the year, and we need to go out to bid for these services. This includes printing, sorting, mailing, and it also includes postage. Happy to answer any questions.
Mike, does Firestone still do that? Or
No.
They used to do it for us, did they?
They did it for us for a number of years. In a number of contracts, they stopped the service altogether, so this is the second time we're going out to bid.
And there's any other governmental entities that, do this and have, like, for example, we do internal audit for other governmental, is there a governmental?
So, yeah, I've had discussions with Mr. Migden in the auditor's office. We're going to reach out to the vendor they use as well as part of this bid.
Maybe get a better price. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Questions from members of the committee? Members of council?
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, Brandon.
what's the year-over-year change in costs are you thinking or estimating?
So actually, this is just postage.
Contract over contract.
Yeah. So the previous contract was about $275,000. So we're kind of working in some tolerance there based on increase in postage.
Any other questions from members of council? All right, Jeff, you want to move on that? Jeff moved on 2024-166. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 2024-167, a resolution authorizing the executive to advertise for bids for the construction of Project Q536, Copley Road sanitary sewer infrastructure improvements for an estimated total cost not to exceed $561,890 for Phase 1 and for an estimated total cost not to exceed $468,481.25 for Phase 1A alternate located in Copley Township and Council District 5 for the Executive Department of Sanitary Sewer Services and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. County Council previously approved 2 resolutions regarding this project. The first was the design of the sanitary sewer, and the second was an intergovernmental agreement with Copley Township, where Copley Township will be reimbursing the county for the cost of this project. We did have to break out the project into a couple of phases, one being that Copley Township is currently under construction on a new safety center off of Sunset Drive at Copley Road, and they do need sanitary sewer service for that facility, so that's why we're doing this first phase. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions from members of the committee, members of council, the public? Mr. Donofrio, you want to move on that? Mr. Donofrio moved on 2024-167. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 2024-168, a resolution authorizing the executive to advertise for bids for the construction of Project Q960 Pump Station number 30, replacement for an estimated total cost not to exceed $7 million, and to authorize the executive to apply for and execute a water pollution control fund loan agreement for a loan in amount to exceed not to exceed $7 million to fund the project located in the City of Greene and Council District 8 for the Executive's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is a complete rebuild of one of our larger pump stations in the City of Greene. County Council previously approved a resolution for the design of this project. It's been under design for a couple of years. This handles a large portion of our flow through southern Summit County. Additionally, the loan may only be $3.5 million because I expect an intergovernmental agreement to come before this body where Stark County will be paying for 50% of the cost. That station receives a significant amount of flow from Stark County via an agreement we have with them. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Mike. And how many pump stations are there in Summit County?
We have 115 major pump stations and 85 grinder pump stations.
Busy.
Yes.
Okay, Jeff Wilhite.
Mike, on a project like this, roughly, how long does it take to build something like that?
We have construction at 180 days on this project. Yeah.
Any other questions from members of council? Public? All right, Gloria Rogers moved on 2024-168. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Any other business to come before the Public Works Committee? Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Mike, how many of the pump stations are going to be needed to do significant work on within the next few years?
Almost all of our pump stations need constant attention. When I say major work, we have one that just was awarded. That was Pump Station 36 in Hudson. We have Pump Station 30, which is getting ready to go under a significant rehab. We just did one at Pump Station 42. Pump Station 123 will probably be before you next year. Pump Station 79 will probably be before you next year. There's a lot. Yeah. And just real quick, one more remark. I'm sorry. Along with these pump stations, there's the force mains, right? Excuse me. And the force mains are the ones that give us the biggest issue, really. They deteriorate.
They're all force mains?
Every pump station has a force main.
Now, this new one will be different, or will it be a force main?
They'll still have a force main, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Gloria, any other questions or comments from members of council? All right, then we are adjourned.
Thank you.
I'll call the Public Safety Committee to order at 4:40. First item, 2024-169, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute any documents necessary to accept the award from the Ohio Department of Public Safety's Office of Criminal Justice Services of a Drug Law Enforcement Fund grant in the amount of $1,336,875.73 with a 25% local cash match requirement of $45,625.24. For a project total of $182,500.97 for the period 7/1/24 through 6/30/25 for the sheriff declaring an emergency.
Good evening, everyone. Bill Holland from the Sheriff's Office. This is a grant that we get annually, our DLEF grant that pays for the cost of one of our detectives, the rent, and some vehicle fuel and maintenance. And then, obviously the cash match is paid for through the unit.
Any questions from anyone? Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Schmidt. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. 2024-170, a resolution authorizing the county to enter into a contract with Summit County Children's Services for policing and after-hours call answering services to be performed by the Sheriff's Office for the period 7/1/24 through 6/30/25 in an amount not to exceed $181,185.64 for the executive and the sheriff and declaring an emergency.
Hello again, Bill Holland from the Sheriff's Office. This is to cover the cost of one deputy and then answering their calls after hours. So that would be after 10 p.m. during the week, and then on Friday nights after 10 p.m. until they come back to work Monday morning.
Any questions? Yes?
So what would those calls for service be for?
Anything from someone reporting an issue for Children's Services or calling the hotline would then be routed to us versus, they don't have someone there, or on the holidays as well. So,
Not on property, but calls out.
right, so that way at least someone's always answering the phone.
How are these handled now? Is this a change or?
No, it's still, I don't think there's anything changing as far as I know.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Ms. Rogers.
So, and
Bill's right, there's really not much of a change. Hi, this is Cassandra Holtzman from Summit County Children's Services. Since you gave me the look at Lori, I'll let you both know that we did have the regional office answering our phone calls, and our hotline then was also, we had to work them overtime because the regional dispatch center did not want to ask the additional questions. It took too long for dispatch. So we came back to the sheriff's office and worked with Bill and the sheriff and got the job done. So we really appreciate the partnership.
This was a, if I could add on to that, originally there was a contract with the sheriff's office and dispatch handled those calls. Then we moved, obviously, that over to the SARCOG. Along the way, there are these ancillary services like Cuyahoga Falls Electric Utility, like this piece that dispatch, we've moved those services away from dispatch. At the end of the day, there were always deputies who did investigatory services for CSB. So this model now is a little more like what we have with the DD board, where they have they have sheriff deputies essentially assigned to do investigative work and to handle these calls directly going forward.
To take some of the, I don't know, lead time and some of the red tape out of it so it goes directly to someone who's investigating instead of, taking some of the steps out so it's more timely.
Can I ask one other question, Bill? You said sheriff's doing some of the investigation. Cassandra, does the sheriff do investigation for you on some of these calls where there may be someone's calling? Because I know at our facility, if we discover a possible child abuse situation, we must immediately report it by law. Does the sheriff do the investigation at that moment, or is that forwarded to you and you follow up?
Yeah, we generally work together in conjunction on that. So if it's something that would require us to have law enforcement with us, they would certainly go out with us and support us in that situation. But our calls are basically, some are emergent, immediate need calls. We need to go out right away. The sheriff's office is well aware of those. They make sure that we know in the middle of the night, whatever hour it might be, they contact us and we take care of it. Otherwise, we're dealing with that call when we come back in and managing whatever it needs to be.
So it's
Sometimes they're just consent to treats too, so we do appreciate that the sheriff's office passing those along to us immediately so we can just do those, take care of the consent and move on with the night.
It's not just wait till Monday morning when the office is up.
That's right. That's
Very
right.
good.
We're working
That's good to hear.
24/7.
Thank you, because we report too. Yes. Thanks.
Are there any other questions? All right, do I have a motion? Okay. Motion by Mr. Wilhite on 2024-170. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. 2024-171, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control, subject to the approval of the Information Technology Board, of a professional service contract with Tyler Technologies, Inc. as a best practical source for the case management system at the jail for a one-year term for the period of 7/1/24 to 6/30/25 in an amount not to exceed $259,905.50 for the Office of Information Technology and Sheriff, and declaring an emergency.
Hello again. This is just a renewal for our jail management system. It's an evolving system, but there are obviously some positives to it, some time savings because it's integrated with our other systems. That, for instance, if someone makes an arrest out in the field, they can export that arrest report and it goes right into the booking system and saves some time populating so we can get the bookings done quicker, and that way people aren't sitting in the intake as long. Things like that. That's for those agencies that are on the Tyler system as well. And it's all the larger agencies, the Cuyahoga Falls, the Stows, the Talmadges. We use it for bookings and releasings, all of our jail operations. So this is just a renewal for that system.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Ford on 2024-171. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. 2024-172, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute intergovernmental agreements with 12 local law enforcement agencies to provide diversion services to unruly and misdemeanant youth within their respective jurisdictions to prevent an official referral to the Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Division for the period 7/1/24 through 6/30/25 in a total amount not to exceed $202,000 for the Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Division and declaring an emergency.
David Horner, Summit County Juvenile Court. These are a set of annual intergovernmental agreements with local police agencies that we bring before council every year. It is exactly the same as last year's. These provide diversion services for low-level offenses of juveniles at juvenile court, unruly and minor misdemeanors. It keeps it away from being an actual official referral to juvenile court then.
Any questions for Mr. Horner?
Where do these kids then go?
I'm sorry?
Where do these kids then go if they're not going into the court system?
It's handled unofficially. There's diversion services. They work with the local police agency. They may have to go in on the weekend, do some work there, some cleaning. I think at one time they used to wash police cars and various agencies, things like that. It is funded through the Delinquent Care and Custody Grant that we received from the Ohio Department of Youth Services.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion? Motion by Mr. Schmidt on 2024-172. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. 2024-173, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with the Ohio Desk Company at state term pricing for new office furniture for the Psychodiagnostic Clinic for a total amount not to exceed $140,349.26 for the Court of Common Pleas and declaring an emergency.
Good afternoon, Ken Tillis, Common Pleas Court. This is for replacement furniture in the Psychodiagnostic Clinic. They are entirely grant funded. None of it comes from general fund. They'll be replacing the furniture in their entire suite, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Tellis? Okay, do I have a motion? Motion by Councilman Wilhite on 2024-173. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. 2024-174, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional service contract with Greenleaf Family Center as a best practical source to provide assessments to identify court-involved individuals who may require enhanced programs or services for the period 7/1/24 through 6/30/25 in an amount not to exceed $189,900 for the Executive Department of Public Safety and declaring an emergency.
Good evening, Lori Pesci, Executive's Office, Department of Public Safety. This is an annual contract with Greenleaf Family Services. Again, it's to provide the assessments for Common Pleas Court, and it's paid for using our money from the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction.
Are there any questions? Okay, do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Wilhite. Motion by Mr. Wilhite on 2024-174. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Okay. In 2024-175, we have an amended resolution on the purple sheet. An amended resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of the First Amendment and renewal of a professional service contract subject to the approval of the Information Technology Board with Fairlawn Gig as a best practical source to provide computer-aided dispatch network, data storage, and backup services for the amended first renewal period of 7/1/24 through 12/31/28 in an amount not to exceed $362,664 for the Executive's Department of Public Safety and declaring an emergency.
Lori Pesci, Executive's Office, Department of Public Safety. Apologies that I overlooked that the scheduling of OIT in the legislation. We use Fairline Gig currently to provide our networking and data storage and backup services for our computer-aided dispatch system, which not only serves our consolidated center, but several other centers in Summit County. And we amended the renewal date to end on the calendar year for record-keeping purposes.
Does anyone have any questions on this one? Okay, then I will move to accept the amendment. That's the motion. Okay. All those in favor of accepting 2024-175 as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. We're good? Okay.
Thank you.
Mark usually gives me really good notes. 2024-184, resolution authorizing the executive to execute any documents necessary to accept an award from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources of a 2024 Marine Patrol Assistance Grant for the calendar year ending 12/31/24 in the amount of $32,697.37 with a local cash match requirement of $10,899.12 for a program total of $43,596.49 for the sheriff and declaring an emergency.
Hello, Bill Holland from the Sheriff's Office. This is the grant we receive annually to fund our Marine Patrol unit. They patrol Portage Lakes. They go out to Springfield for the fireworks. They can respond, to any, I don't know if there's roughly 25 or so bodies of water in the county that they could respond to if needed. We have 3 boats and 6 people on the unit. Usually we have 1 or 2 boats out at a time on Portage Lakes. They also do boater education. They work the boat show and the boat parade and things like that. But this is the grant that they use to fund salaries and boat maintenance.
Are there any questions?
Bill, can they help out on the Cauga River if there are problems?
I don't know that the types of boats they have are not river ready. They're more lake type boats. I do think the fire departments have some swift water boats. I remember, if Lori's still here, they've got swift water boats. These aren't very swift boats. These are more floaty than they are.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, do I have a motion? Mr. Schmidt, you want?
So moved.
Okay. A motion from Mr. Schmidt on 2024-184. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and I will call Public Safety Committee to a close at 4:55, and I'll open the Rules Committee at 4:55. First item, 2024-176, a resolution submitting to the electors of the County of Summit at the November 5, 2024 general election a proposed charter amendment as recommended by the 2023-2024 Charter Review Commission to amend Article 5, Section 5.10 to add the clarifying term charter, add aunt and uncle to familial relations, and remove the salary limit for the County Charter Review Commission and declaring an emergency.
I don't think. Okay, fine. So this was an issue that first came to our attention through our HR department, Chip Klepper particularly helping the sheriff's office out with recruitment and retention. It became apparent pretty quickly that a portion of the charter here that limits familial relations, nepotism, particularly the part about the $80,000 salary, is going to become problematic very quickly. This $80,000 amount was put in 15 years ago. It was not indexed to inflation. And at this point, we're seeing several positions that were really not intended to be covered by this. These are hourly positions that are not in any position of exceptional trust or influence in the county. Particularly, I'll just give an example right now. The first-year sergeants at the sheriff's office fall under this exception. I do not believe that it was intended to be that. It was intended to be more director-level folks working with the county. As we go along here, between this Charter Review Commission and next, you're going to see a lot more classifications, hourly classifications, people working, making overtime, no supervisory roles whatsoever falling under this bar, and that will limit an already limited pool of applicants, especially in areas like law enforcement. And oddly enough, we have a family business in wastewater treatment. Mr. Vinay might be able to talk about that. And that seems to run in the family. So we are looking to have that change. Now, when we brought that to the Charter Review Commission, a couple other issues became apparent pretty quickly. One of which was that the language talked about county employees, county directors. And there's been some prosecutor opinions that have opined on that and that are also problematic. I'll let John.
So the charter amendment, the fairness and employment that's in place, it says county employees. It didn't have any limiting language. So we had to look to state law. So the county employees, court employees are county employees, but they're not subject to restrictions in your charter. Board of Elections employees are county employees, Veteran Service Commission employees, Children's Services employees. They're not subject to your charter provisions. So what we had is a situation where a Children's Services worker could knock out somebody from working in the prosecutor's office as a prosecutor, even though they're not subject to the charter. And I could give an example. Jamila Mitchell, she's a criminal prosecutor, and she was working in Richland County. She lived in Stark County, and she wanted to get a job with the Summit County Prosecutor's Office. So we interviewed her. We had no knowledge that her sister was a director at Children's Services, so we couldn't hire her. But her sister could have resigned. We could have hired her, and they could have hired her right back because they're not subject. So we talked about that at the Charter Review Commission. It seemed to be like a one-way street, and it's not a two-way street. So we want the charter deals with the charter offices, but some of the other county employees were serving to be knockouters, but couldn't knock out themselves. They're the person who worked in the other office. So did I make it complicated? So there are many county, I said Veteran Service, DD Board, ADM, Board of Elections, Veteran Service Commission, Children's Services, and of course our Juvenile Court, Domestic Relations Court, and Common Pleas Court. So those are considered county employees, and we have to provide representation to them. But you can't, your charter, our charter, cannot limit who they could hire. So they were knocking out, like once again, they're a knockout, but they themselves could hire whoever they want. So we thought that was, especially, I know in the prosecutor's office, we have had hard time recruiting people to be prosecutors. So we had an excellent candidate. We had no knowledge who her sister was. And what happened is her sister retired, of course, then we hired her, and she's prosecuting criminal cases for us. So that's just one example of the one-way street.
That's right. And there's very little cross-control, cross-influence between an organization like CSB or DD Board and what we do at the county. So it just doesn't make sense to have that. So the Charter Review Commission, and James Armstrong is here, he chaired the commission. They decided that it was far better to include that word charter as a clarifying term in the provisions. Thirdly, they noticed, Jeff Snell, who I'm not sure is here or not, noticed very quickly that aunt and uncle mysteriously was not in the list of relatives that are prohibited, even though niece and nephew is. So if I get hired at sanitary sewer and my uncle works here, it's not necessarily a bar. But if my niece or nephew are here, then it's a bar. It's a very strange thing. And I don't believe that was intended. It was an oversight. So that was added in by the commission as well. So those are the three major areas that we were looking at when the Charter Review Commission decided to make these changes. And I don't know, Mr. Armstrong, if you want to add anything?
So you're talking about the nepotism?
Correct.
Okay. You didn't say nepotism.
Nepotism.
It's actually categorized as a fairness and employment.
Fairness, yeah, that's what it's called in the charter, fairness in county employment.
The legislation, I would like to read it.
Yes, it's in the,
I didn't realize that. Yeah.
It's in the body itself.
Okay.
And there's two different pieces, actually.
I know that
And we also submitted the Charter Commission's report to council.
I would add one other note on this piece. So this charter provision was passed November 7th, 2006, with that $80,000 figure. I was just looking at a CPI calculator. That is $124,000 in today's dollars. When we discussed this initially, the thought of putting that in, there's no inflationary index to it. The reality is we know what positions make these hiring decisions, and it's really these unclassified elected officials. So the salary piece of it, and those officials are all making more than $80,000 to begin with. So removing the dollar amount and focusing on the positions that do the hiring seemed, in terms of not having to repeat this all the time, to make more sense.
even unclassified positions like a secretary, they would prohibit anybody from their family from being hired as well. So it's not
Yes.
that they necessarily-
They would.
Yes.
Any unclassified.
Yeah, any unclassifieds.
That's correct. This is already a very restrictive provision. And I should also point out, we did a survey of anti-nepotism provisions around Ohio. No one had a salary cap like this. No one had a salary cap, period. We are an outlier on this.
Brian, what were some of the other communities that had provisions like this? So did they go to the level of all unclassified?
No. A lot of them just closely mirrored the Ohio ethics statutes, which basically, if you look at, it's not even the first paragraph, it's the second main paragraph in 5.0 about supervisory responsibility. And then the other thing is that any familiar relation is prohibited from influencing in any way hiring decisions. That's all state law. Most of them follow that. This is a little extra.
The charter review discuss where we were versus where other communities were?
Yes.
We had a lively discussion over many days.
We did.
And there were some members who wanted to take it even further, because as a county, we have many vacancies, and we want to create a bigger pool of people who would be eligible. But we felt that we wanted to respect the fairness in employment, and Councilwoman Hein raised a good point. So under the charter as it is now, somebody could work at juvenile court and make $35,000 a year as a deputy clerk. That's unclassified, because all the juvenile court employees are unclassified. They would knock somebody out from being hired as a prosecutor in the prosecutor's office. So the charter language saying it's charter offices will help as far as there isn't as big a pool of unclassified. And some of our courts, well, actually most of the court employees are all unclassified.
That's right.
So they'd knock everybody out. The Board of Elections, they're all unclassified employees. They would knock everybody out, regardless of the job they do there, whether it's part-time or full-time, because there's no limitations here saying that you're a full-time employee. So if you're an unclassified part-time employee, you could knock out somebody from working in any other charter office.
So you're including the charter language in order to limit the pool of potential people that could knock others out.
Correct.
And to only offices that are subject to the charter, rather than entities that are outside the charter and outside the purview of this body or the charter itself.
I think it was the opinion of the commission that the one-way street seemed to be unfair. Children's Services could hire whoever they want, qualified individuals, obviously. But the other offices couldn't, but who they hire could then serve to knock somebody out in one of the charter offices.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
When it was initially passed, I remember, it wasn't, if I understand the definition of nepotism, that's if I'm an elected official or meeting those categories that I can't hire family in my own office. That's the way the other 87 counties work. But I don't know about Cauga.
So there's a state, and we talked about that. Sarah was actually on our commission as well. We talked about that. So there's a state law. So if you're an elected official, you can't hire your relative. That makes sense. So our charter is more restrictive. So, and we have that right as a charter community to be more restrictive. I think what we were trying to do is to update it to, we need more people who, we could hire because we have vacancies in a lot of the offices.
Do we have any, for lack of a better word, nepotism standards in place then? Other than as an elected official, I can't hire my, just go for a state.
No, so the charter amendment is a modification. That the Fairness in Employment Charter Amendment would still exist if the voters made these changes to it. So the essence of it would still exist. We'd still be much more stricter than the state requirements. It would just open up some opportunities where we saw inequity as far as the charter office's ability to hire.
And we're always under the restrictions under the Ohio ethics laws. This is on top of that. It is more restrictive. So that will, we're always going to be under the Ohio ethics rules. But we needed a little relief here. For instance, deputies, I think within probably sometime in the middle of the next contract, they're going to be over $80,000, if assuming like a 2.5 COLA increase for 2 or 3 years.
Well, I think it's also arguable about what is an $80,000 salary.
Yeah.
Because when you look at uniform allowance, overtime, holiday comp pay, all these other benefits, most, or at least a large part of the sheriff's deputy group already earns over $80,000 a year. So there's not really even really truly a definition of what that $80,000 represents.
Yeah. And labor
so
salary.
Removing that.
And labor salary usually means that you're exempt. You have a salary, you're paid under salary, you're not being paid hourly. But that's not really clear in this.
And why are we going beyond state law?
This was the will of the voters 14, 16 years ago.
What does that mean? Somebody explain things.
Where are you going with it, Brian? Are we going to get nothing?
No, not too far, John. So this was not a charter amendment that was initiated by county council / the county executive. This was a voter-led petition drive that got enough signatures, got on the ballot. We are trying to adhere to the spirit of what was passed, but also clean up some things that are now dated or that were not probably as specific as they needed to be at the time.
That was a good move.
Well, my question was along those lines too, because it does seem very restrictive, like going to the level of cousins. Some of us have lots of family members in public service, and it's rather restrictive to,
It's
cousins.
a small town.
Yeah,
as we say
I mean,
here.
I can
It's a big,
imagine,
small
particularly like lawyers, right? I mean, if you're a government lawyer and you've got a family member at the county, it knocks out a lot of good people, I imagine, particularly when we have hiring problems. So
No doubt.
has there been thought given to making it less restrictive, or we're just not going there?
I think that we felt in order to respect the will of the voters previously and to address the most immediate problems with the greatest chance of success, that this more surgical change was the best way to go.
We did consider the broader picture about going back to this state law, but as Mr. Nelson and Mr. Harnack just mentioned, when you think about the voters did pass this, you certainly have to respect that, and their intent was understandable, and it was just a way to clean it up. Like with adding aunt and uncle, that didn't make any sense. Eliminating the salary didn't make any sense, and just limiting it to people that are decision makers and elected officials, we thought on the commission adhered to the spirit of the charter review amendment that was initiated through the petition, while at the same time assisting the county and not having a situation very shortly that would be very difficult to address.
Any other questions? All right, then, let's see, where were we? Okay, so.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So this was voted on by the voters back when?
That's what, okay, yeah, that I found the
So
date
I
on
guess
there.
that's 18 years ago
So,
now, yeah.
so it's taken this long to fix it?
It has, and I think it was the salary cap that really kind of drew attention to that, because over time and with inflation, these hourly positions, like, deputy in a couple of years, or over at the building standards, you have lead inspectors that are going to be very likely making $80,000 and over. And if you include their overtime, some of them at the sheriff's office are making over $100,000.
Right.
So
So,
you're
like,
bumping
when-
up against the ceiling very quickly.
When we first got this, like when I first got this, like I was like looking at it, and so I was kind of confused a little bit because I thought that the charter review, this was something that was going to be new on the ballot. And I was like looking at
It's an
this
amendment.
going, is this going to be like really confusing to the voters? And then listening to you guys all, that's why I was just wondering, because you were saying that it did. I did find the date in here for 2006, so I was just wondering why it's taken that long. That's all. That was my
Sure.
question.
And
Sorry.
messaging is always important in these things, too.
I'll move, Madam Chair.
Okay, motion by Councilman Schmidt. All those in favor on 2020, oh. Are you voting or you got a question? No. All right, sorry.
I heard an aye.
Very happy to vote for this one. All right. All those in favor of 2024-176, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The ayes have it. 2024-177, a resolution submitting to the electors of the County of Summit at the November 5th, 2024 general election a proposed charter amendment as recommended by the 2023-2024 Charter Review Commission to amend Article 2, Section 2.038C to require yearly submissions of estimated revenues and proposed expenditures by each county department, office, agency, authority, board, and commission for the County Charter Review Commission and declaring an emergency.
So this one was one of those things where while we were at it, we thought we'd do a little more cleanup. So this is a budget and finance provision. And actually, I would turn this over to Mr. Nelson, who can tell you more about how these sorts of reports are generated and what's common practice and why we ask for the cleanup. It's basically cleanup here.
Yeah, so this is one that, geez, I remember a few years ago, internal audit asking us about, and the requirement's essentially that we provide line item detail of revenue and expenses for every office in the county. And Brian, I don't have the legislation from me. Was it previously on a monthly or quarterly?
Quarterly.
Basis? As you guys, thanks. As you guys, I think as you guys know, when we present financial updates, it's usually in a summary form. There were a few years where we started printing out at the end of the year and sending reports over to council with that detail, and they were over 1,000 pages. I'm quite sure none of you probably read through all of that. So when we do the annual budget, obviously we bring you the line item detail for all of the operating budgets, and previous 3 years of prior expenditures. Requiring this on a quarterly basis is, in practice, not something in the 20 years I've been here we've done, other than submitting reports over that I think just we get an email back saying thank you, and that's the end of it. We're happy to provide this level of information anytime to anybody who wants it. It is all public record, after all. But removing this to more closely comply with how we do the annual budget on an annual basis, not a quarterly basis, seemed to just be something from a cleanup standpoint that made sense.
Yeah, and you'll see in 203, the subsection B right above it talks about doing a statement of proposed expenditures for such year. So, right, and then right below it, it's quarterly right now, which really, this is just kind of according those two subsections together so that they read the same thing and that they reflect the practice that's going on.
Mr. Wilhite?
Yeah, just a procedural question. So on any of these amendments to the charter, we approve them today, or to be approved, then it's just automatic. These don't go back to voters, correct?
These go back to the voters. This will be submitted to the
Will
electors.
appear on the ballot in November.
In November?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So you're authorizing to put them on?
Put it on.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Are there any other questions? Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. DeVitas on 2024-177. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
One other thing, just, I want to give a big thank you for all of the members of the Charter Review Commission who worked very hard and were very invested and very involved in this process. And I really admired their work in this, so I'd like to say thank you to them.
Yes. Thank you from all of us for your work. When was the last time that there was a Charter Review Commission?
It's every 5 years. 5 years.
5 years.
Thank you. And I will close the Rules Committee at 5:18. Thank you.
And I'll open the Health and Human Services Committee at 5:18. First up is 2024-178, a resolution declaring the day of August 24th, 2024 as Summit County Pride Day, encouraging residents to celebrate and support the LGBTQ+ community and the Akron Pride Festival and Equity March for the executive and declaring an emergency.
Good evening, everyone. Ethan Lauer, Executive Shapiro's Department of Administration and Public Information. So today I have the pleasure of presenting on this year's recognition of Summit County Pride Day, which would take place on the same day as the Akron Pride Festival and Equity March on August 24th. Each year, thousands of people from across our region visit Summit County and Akron for Pride. And for many LGBTQ people, Pride is a special moment. To me, Pride is affirming and heartwarming and reminds me of my obligation to help other people live their lives freely with the love and support that they deserve. But Pride can mean many things to many people. Pride can be a protest when the rights of LGBTQ people are threatened. Pride can be a celebration when we come together with our loved ones to cherish our progress. And I think we shouldn't underestimate how important it is to spend quality time with our family and friends. And Pride can be a platform for education and understanding within our community, and it can be much more. I'm incredibly proud to work at a place where our leadership and our staff support one another, and it is truly a blessing, and I'm always happy to come before you all to talk about Pride and to thank you for supporting LGBTQ+ people in our community. And if you're able to attend, whether you're volunteering, enjoying the day, or just dropping by, thank you. And a special shout out to Summit County for supporting the festival in March last year through a sponsorship, through volunteers and marchers. And because it's June, I'll close out by wishing you all a happy Pride Month, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Ethan, for members of the committee? General, okay. Can I have a motion on 2024-178?
So moved.
Mr. Ford moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks. Appreciate it. Next up, 2024-179, a resolution declaring August 31st, 2024, Overdose Awareness Day in Summit County, raising awareness of the opioid epidemic and asking residents to join in remembering and mourning the lives lost due to the epidemic for the executive and declaring an emergency.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Scott. I've met most of you before. I'm with Summit County Public Health. I do all of our harm reduction and opioid-related programming as a coordinator there. So first, I do just want to thank everybody who was involved in the Recovery Friendly Workplace designation. I know you guys celebrated that a few weeks ago. That's really important to our community to see the support that we have at such high levels of all the people that we know are already part of our workforce that are in recovery or struggling, so they know they have safe places to go. Overdose Awareness Day is not just something local, it's at the state level and also internationally recognized as a time that we can remember all of the lives lost, but also remind everyone that overdose does not have to be a death sentence. It can also be completely prevented, and there's lots of different ways to do that. So in addition to declaring Overdose Awareness Day, just to show support for the community, it shows support for the families, and it shows that we don't forget the people that are gone. Summit County Public Health actually works day in and day out, myself specifically, as well as the group that we have that does all of our naloxone distribution. I know some of you have had us come out and do trainings with your communities, which is excellent. In 2023, Summit County lost over 200 people alone in just that year, and over the last several years, there's been at least 200 people who have lost their lives to overdose. So we do a lot of education on overdose, recognizing signs of addiction, recognizing signs in family members, and if you know someone that is using or is actively using, how to address an overdose using Narcan or naloxone. In 2023, we were able to train 1,873 people and provide education to them in addiction and overdose response. We were able to distribute 7,329 kits of Narcan just in Summit County through various different methods, including mail order, partnerships with organizations, law enforcement. We also had 728 reversals reported just by our clients in our harm reduction clinic. So that means they used the Narcan they got from us to save the life of a friend who was overdosing on 728 different occasions. And in addition to, including the nalox boxes that the county offices have hanging to show support in the community, we have 220 that have been installed in different organizations. So recognizing Overdose Awareness Day doesn't just show that the county supports it, but that we support the community in healing from the damage of the opioid epidemic. And we are really happy that this is up today so that we can continue that this year. Like the last couple of years, the executive has put this for you. So I am here to answer any questions that you have.
Megan, on the epidemic, is there any signs of it subsiding, or is it still the same or growing?
I wouldn't say growing. I think it was recently there was I think the CDC put it out that there were less overdose deaths in the last year nationwide. We have pretty much stayed stagnant, which is actually a good sign. There's other parts of the state, and the state overall has seen a rise in overdoses, but Summit County has stayed at about the same number. We would prefer that it was lower. We would prefer there were no overdoses, but unfortunately that's not the case. It's not the reality. But we are able, through all the different avenues that we have, able to kind of stay the same place that we were last year.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Megan from members of the committee or members of council? Hearing or seeing any, council as a whole on this?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And if I could go back, do we want to do council as a whole on 178 as well?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Monique, if you would make note of that, thank you. Next up, 2024-180, a resolution declaring the month of August 2024 as National Immunization Awareness Month, recognizing the individual and community benefits of receiving immunizations for the executive and declaring an emergency. Ms. Donna, hello.
Good evening, Donna Scotus, Summit County Public Health. You would expect me to not be here on this evening for immunizations. It would be the only thing I'm usually here for, is preaching about immunizations. However, it's important that we realize, and I want to thank the county and the support for adopting National Immunization Day, week, month, only because we're seeing a decrease in immunizations. And at the same time, there are things that we thought were gone, long gone. Polio has been picked up in sewer water, in this country. It stopped they stopped doing smallpox in 1972 in this country, but you're starting to see these things recultivate. As far as measles go, people are traveling, and it really depends on your lifestyle, and it takes a lot of education to get people to understand. I might not need, because of lifestyle behavior choices, an Mpox vaccine, but I need a whole slew of others. So you really have to really decipher and figure out what's right for you and take your vaccine. But honestly, we have to get people vaccinated. I know COVID was a really hard time for folks. Only about 50% of folks get a flu vaccine, which again leaves a whole lot vulnerable. We had a pretty rough year this year, a lot of death. We still have people dying with COVID-related illness. So, and vaccine helps. So we really have to push that and educate and try to get folks to at least make informed decisions and not based in fear. There's a lot of misinformation that's out there, and we really have to try to get those decisions that are good. Vaccine has saved millions of lives. Millions. Polio alone. I can remember being a kid, I don't know, maybe some of you in here, people were happy when the polio vaccine came out. Whether you got a sugar cube or a few drops or whatever, they were happy. But now there doesn't seem to be that same sort of feeling towards vaccine. There's a lot of conspiracy. But the bottom line is that you do need to protect yourself and your children. All of these measles we're seeing is because kids aren't vaccinated. Somebody travels somewhere, comes home, exposes the little one too young to be vaccinated, and before you know it, you have 35 cases. So I appreciate a designation, and hopefully we'll be able to reach a few more people and get, Immunization Awareness Month to get folks vaccinated. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Donna, I just want to thank you and your whole staff for the amazing program that you have. I received my shingle shot at the health department, both of them. The first one, when I was there, the nurse that gave the shot said, "Have you had your flu shot?" And I couldn't lie. I said, "No." She goes, "Well, you have another arm." So I gave her the other arm. But just couldn't have been more easy. Just the process. What a great program you run there, and thank you for that.
Oh, great. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Because we're not the main vaccinators. When the pharmacies got a lot of it, they get stuff we don't even get. Like, we don't get RSV vaccine. They have it. There's certain things they get, and we refer folks there. But we really try to not have missed opportunities for vaccine because we want to get people when they're willing.
Yeah. Any questions for Donna? John?
Is the shingle vaccine really that important?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Even someone younger than Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I can honestly say, John, my brother got shingles. And,
It can be
oh my God,
debilitating.
it was awful. It was awful.
Is there something going around now? I mean, I know people are getting upper chest, it's like congestion, coughing, and the sinus and everything. I mean, is that the flu bug we're talking about?
Pollen count. Pollen's been off the charts. People who never have allergies have had them.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, across the country and in other parts of the state, there's been a little uptick in whooping cough, pertussis. Flu numbers are down, COVID's down, RSV's down. But no, a lot of people have upper respiratory right now related to nothing but good old irritation of allergies.
Just one more question, Don. Those individuals that had COVID, what is the lingering time? I mean, can that go on for a year where they still have?
It can go on for your life. Long COVID can be a long time.
So you could have some coughing, chest congestion, things like that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Tired, fatigue, mental fog, heart arrhythmias, there's any number of symptoms that have been documented.
Is there any way to diagnose that? Or
Oh yeah, they are.
still have some of it in you?
But let's go back to shingles for a minute. There's 2 shingles vaccines out there. You could have had the first one that gives you about 92%. If you take the 2 series, which is the new one, Shingrix, you'll end up getting about 99% prevention, and it's worth it because shingles is very debilitating. It's awful.
That guy on the commercial that says shingles doesn't care, ooh, he's not kidding.
And you can get all kinds of weird shingles, like in your eyeballs and stuff. It's bad. Don't do it. Oh, yeah, internal.
Are there,
You can give us the number of TB cases we have in the county. Can I ask?
12.
12 currently.
12 that we're following on DOT, direct observational therapy.
are there any specific events or activities or things that are going to be happening around immunizations that we should be aware of?
Well, I think what we do is we try to do some media campaigns. We try to get folks in. A lot of back to school in August. And again, as a health district, we don't compete with local providers. We would prefer everybody get their kids vaccine where they have a home, a medical home. But a lot of times it's funny, insurances won't cover vaccines. And so they come to us because we discount it or don't even charge. So we get folks who come to us who don't have coverage a lot. But we do some awareness with schools. We do some social media. We'll do some marketing. We're trying to push it.
And you can come by during, let's call it normal business operating
Oh, yeah.
hours?
We have
Without an
everything.
appointment, or do you need an appointment?
It depends. If the problem is we're torn up in construction right now, So you just have to call. We would prefer you call to make sure it's safe to walk in a door, something doesn't fall on you. But yeah, we're set up to work still, but it's pretty nasty. Sure.
Do you ever offer school, like clinic type things? Because I can remember when I was a kid, my mother took us to school.
Oh, yeah.
about the polio.
Yeah.
Are we still doing that?
No, we don't do that anymore simply because most of the schools have a nursing contract and they'll do it. Like Children's Hospital has the lion's share of the contracts. Mhm. And so does, it's called PSI, which is public school. It's a nursing service, they as well, and they'll do those types of clinics. You know what's interesting? When your mom took you there, I'll bet you didn't even sign a consent. You just lined up and, oh, I know. Now there's this much paperwork and, you know, they would just take you and made you take it. Nobody even asked.
My mother was thrilled to take my.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because we had kids developing polio.
Oh, yeah. And polio, if you look at post-polio syndrome, you know, the crippling effects, it's as crippling as COVID. I mean, COVID's often been compared to post-polio. But thank you, we appreciate the support. And if you're not vaccinated, come get it, okay?
Go visit, go see them.
I have
Any
a
other
question,
questions?
Don.
Oh, sure.
You're through at the end of the month?
No, end of
When-
the year.
At the end, good.
Yeah.
Because I really appreciate you and
Thank you.
Thanks for coming down here and informing us about this stuff. So you can get the Shingrix vaccine at the health department?
Yeah, I think, yeah, we have it now.
And just walk in?
Yeah,
Just walk in and get
just let me know, and I'll make sure, like I said, it's safe in there.
Okay.
Because they're painting and tearing wallpaper off and getting it cleaned up, so it's dangerous at times.
Okay. And then the other thing is the COVID booster, the Moderna.
We don't have it, we never got it shipped to us.
Well, I got mine at the Giant
Okay.
Eagle, but it's been 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
So should I wait for the new one that's coming out?
I would wait.
You would wait until, when is that going to happen?
Probably in the fall. You're eligible for another. It'll have to be, right now you're eligible, you could take one. But you're going to have 4 months. So if you took it right now, June, October, you could take the next.
Just wait.
Because it'll probably be out the end of August and September.
Okay. Thanks, Donna.
And if they're going to tweak it, you want to get the new one.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Donna.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank-
Okay, any other questions? Members of the committee, members of council? Council as a whole? Okay. Could I have a motion on 2024-180? Thank you, Mr. DeVitas. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. 2024-181, a resolution declaring the month of August 2024 as Child Support Awareness Month in Summit County, recognizing that child support is critical to keeping children and families healthy and strong, and encouraging the residents of Summit County to join in this acknowledgement and to wear green on Wednesday, August the 7th, 2024, for the prosecutor and the executive, and declaring an emergency. Mr. John.
Thank you, Mr. Wilhite. John Galonsky here on behalf of the prosecutor's office. We would like this designation to highlight and emphasize the importance of child support. In Summit County, we currently have 38,000 child support cases. We collect $67 million in child support, so it's a huge amount. The child support program is second only to our public education system in the number of people we affect through a public program. In our county, we're fortunate. We have the highest collection rate of any of the metro counties, which is 73% of our current support. And that is also a joint effort. Our county council gives the CSA its budget. Our clerk of courts journalizes the orders. The executive's office, Job and Family Service, refers cases to us. The fiscal office records our child support liens. The sheriff's office serves our process. And of course, the prosecutor's office establishes paternity, establishes child support, and helps enforce these orders. So it's important to get that information out. And a final note, it's important, it's not as well known to legally establish paternity, the importance of that. So you could have a couple who's living together, everyone, doing a great work, raising a child or children, and then say the father dies and paternity has not been established, then you might not be eligible for a Social Security death benefit. So we've had situations in my career where the father dies, no one thought about establishing paternity. The father's cremated. So you can't. So actually, in that situation, it was we were able to do the grandparents, the paternal grandparents, and create a DNA profile. But it's just important to establish paternity, obviously, to establish support and to enforce those orders. Any questions for me?
Any questions for Mr. Galante? Members of the committee, council? Okay. Council as a whole on this one as well? Okay. May I have a motion? We have a motion from Mr. Navitas on 2024.
I did have a question really fast.
Oh, sure.
Sorry, Mr. Galansky. I meant to ask you this. So child support, because a lot of people do ask this question, I don't know why, but so if you're delinquent in your child support, can you go to jail?
Yes.
Okay, and what was the other one? Does the child support work with you if you are delinquent so that you don't go to jail or if you're struggling to get a job?
Yeah, so we have a program called Family Support Matters, where it's part of a diversion where an individual could get referred to Job and Family Services for training. There's a mentoring program that Frank Williams runs, Williams Challenge. So there are, we try to identify the reason for the non-payment and try to get the individuals going in the correct direction, which I did forget the courts. So the courts are our partners as well. So our domestic relations court, our juvenile court, and our common police court who help enforce those orders. But yes, to your question.
Last one is driver's license. Can you take away their driving privileges for non-support?
Yes, that is one of the possible tools. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Thanks, Mr. Galante. We have a motion to approve 2024-181. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. And I will close Health and Human Services at, looks like 5:39. We did.
We'll open up finance at 5:40. Two items, 2024-182, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control subject to the approval of the Information Technology Board of change order number 1 to purchase contract with Data Cloud Solutions, a Woolpert company, as best practical source for mobile assessor hardware and software to enable the fiscal office appraisers to digitally reappraise real property in real time for the term from 4/8/22 through 12/31/28, an amount not to exceed $345,439.54 for a cumulative increase of 50.8% for a total amount not to exceed $1,025,385.78 for the fiscal officer and Office of Information Technology, and declaring it an emergency.
Dominic Basile, Summit County Fiscal Office. This is a change to an existing agreement that we have with Data Cloud Solution, a Woolpert company. And essentially, this will enable us to purchase 4 additional appraisal software products that will work alongside our existing mobile assessor software. The products are also fully integrated with our current CAMA system. And they will help us to improve efficiency, both for the appraisers out in the field and the appraisal admin staff back in the office as we start work on the 2026 reappraisal. And with that, I will answer any questions you may
Any
have.
questions? Council questions? Can I have a motion? Ms. Hyam moves on 2024-182. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Last item is 2024-183, a resolution determining to proceed with the submission to the voters of the County of Summit the question of the renewal of an existing tax levy for the operation of Summit County Children's Services established under Chapter 5153 of the Ohio Revised Code for the support of children's services in the care and placement of children for the Summit County Children's Services Board, and declaring it an emergency.
Thank you. Darren Kearns, Summit County Children's Services, CFO. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak with you again regarding the importance of our levy to the successful completion of our mission. the safety, permanency, and well-being of children, all children served in partnership with families in the community. For calendar year 2023, our 3.25 mil levy generated $40,187 of the $66,427 million in total revenue, which equates to 60.5% of our total revenue. For comparison, federal and state funding combined was 37% of our total revenue. State revenues are slightly more than 8%, which indicates that Ohio sees protecting children as a local issue to be paid for using local dollars. While our levy dollars are not used to support any specific program, as evidenced above, absent our levy, Summit County Children's Services would need to dramatically change the financial structure of our organization. One of the most significant impacts of renewing our previous 2.25 mil levy and enacting an additional 1 mil was our ability to continue to provide services above and beyond our mandate to kinship families. These services include daycare for children placed in kinship settings, kinship stipends to provide immediate financial support to families who take placement of a child, and beds for kinship families who need to provide a safe sleep environment. Between the years of 2020 and 2023, Summit County Children's Services provided $2,462,000 in daycare services, $2,608,000 in financial support to kinship families who took custody of a child, and $460,000 in kinship beds to provide safe sleep environments. Additionally, we have been able to increase salaries for caseworkers to attract employees, retain current staff, and remain competitive with our neighboring metropolitan counties. Between 2019 and 2024, hourly wages have increased for caseworkers from $20.51 per hour to $24 per hour. While we continue to struggle with our workforce crisis, we are proud to report that 71% of our caseworkers and 89% of our casework supervisors have greater than 5 years of tenured service with Summit County Children's Services. Most importantly, we have replenished our cash reserve, which had reached a critical level in early 2020. Prior to collecting our first levy disbursement with our new 1 mil added in April of 2020, our cash reserve had dropped to just $7,736,000. As of May 31, 2024, we have $51,134,000 in cash reserve, with a projected balance of $48,532,000 as of December 31st, 2024. We have come to this amount by adding cash to our reserve over the past 4 years as follows. In 2020, we added $9,676,000. In 2021, we added $10,141,000. In 2022, we added $7,441,000. In 2023, we added $4,293,000. And for 2024, we are projecting a small cash deficit of $2,012,000. Failure to maintain a healthy reserve will leave SCCS vulnerable to financial shortfalls, which inevitably would impact services to families and children. Having replenished our cash reserve, SCCS is confident that we will keep our 2018 campaign promise to the voters of Summit County to not seek additional levy millage for at least 2 levy cycles or 12 years. Considering these facts, SCCS is requesting the renewal of our 3.25 mil levy and asking this committee to pass the resolution to proceed, approve ballot language, and put the issue before Summit County electorate in November. Thank you.
Question for you. Your annual budget is how much?
Our annual expenditure budget is just a little over $70 million.
$70 million?
Yes.
And you have $51 million in reserve?
Yes.
Do you have any capital needs or anything like that that's coming up over the next couple of years?
Yes, actually we do. Next year we're looking at, with our heating and ventilation system, we have what's called VAV boxes, which is boxes that control ventilation in specific regions of the building. That was installed I want to say about 17 years ago. Those boxes are now out of service. We're having difficulty finding parts, and the technology has become outdated, so we're looking at replacing those VAV boxes. It's going to be about $500,000, $600,000 to do that project. This year we're looking at, we are remodeling our legal department, which is just about $250,000. Aside from that, most of our major capital projects have been handled in terms of the large HVAC units on our administration building. We just replaced the boilers last year. So we've done a lot of big projects. This one with the VAV boxes, that's probably our most significant project that we're going to see in the next 2 to 3 years.
The $51 million in excess will carry you for how many years?
We're looking at my most recent projection. I carried it out through our next levy cycle. At the end of that levy cycle, we're looking at somewhere around $19 million if cost projections hold true. Now, obviously, it's a projection, but yeah, I would see that $51 million carrying us through our next levy cycle, which, again, that's what we promised the voters of Summit County we'd be able to
And your
do.
levy cycle is a 6-year cycle.
6-year cycle, yes.
So that would bring your reserve down to, you said about $19 million?
About $19 million, yeah. Which is, and again, for example, and I know you didn't ask this question, but I'll give you the information. Between October 2023 and April of 2024, which is between our two levy collections. So we received collections in September of 2023, and we just received collections in May of 2024. We utilized $19.5 million in cash. I mean, so that kind of exemplifies why it's so very important that we have a cash reserve, because between those levy collection cycles, we basically have a collections deficit every month.
Great, thank you very much. Mr.
You're
Chairman,
welcome.
I'll move on this.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Madam President.
Says, I just happened to catch the capital. So are you allowed to use capital on this money?
Capital improvements?
Are you allowed to use capital, or?
I'm not are we allowed to use this money to do capital improvements? Is that what you're asking?
That's what I was wondering.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like Mr. Nelson line item, exactly what you're using that money for. I was just curious.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wilhite moves on 2024-183. Motion? No, I'm sorry, Wilhite. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and I close out finance at 5:50. Thank you.